course, I was a 2012 Bitcoiner, late 2012, started buying Bitcoin and going down that rabbit hole too. And then just started investing in private companies, small amounts, and researching and how do you get started. I think that it's the best way to make real money, which is why the government doesn't want you to do it. Just like Bitcoin is the best way to preserve your purchasing power, and why the government doesn't want you to do it, right? Just like eating meat is probably the healthiest thing you can do, which is why they don't want you to do it. So if you just do the opposite of everything the government tells you, you'd probably be good.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Changing the Tide. I'm your host, John Crabtree. Today I've got an awesome guest, Mike Jarmuz, affectionately known as Muzz. And Mike has such a cool backstory, starting off in the music industry, which led him to a really cool opportunity in the home of the Delta Blues. And then from there to New York, an early OG Bitcoiner, angel investor. I think he got started in 2012 in Bitcoin. And then also now running a fund, LTNG.Ventures, that invests in the Bitcoin ecosystem, including Lightning. So part of that changing the tide concept. And he is also the co-founder of Unconfiscatable with Tone Vays, which is a Bitcoin conference. And if you've seen him on Twitter, you've seen him at recent conferences, helping people buy Bitcoin, even doing Bitcoin giveaways, playing chess, and just an overall cool guy. I think you're going to learn a lot about just investing overall. First and foremost, making sure that you're converting to Bitcoin as a standard, but then beyond that, the opportunities that are available by doing angel investments into the Bitcoin ecosystem. And so in that way, Mike is really helping people who have a vision to change the tide, bring more freedom and prosperity worldwide via Bitcoin and Lightning. And he's investing into those people and helping that ecosystem continue to grow. Our ecosystem, the Bitcoin Lightning ecosystem. And so that's really cool. And I'm excited for you guys to check out this episode. Mike, welcome to the show.
John, dude, thanks for having me, man. This is really cool. And I see that we're both wearing some rad fly shirts there from the Lightning store.
Yep, Sam does some incredible work over there, so got to support.
Definitely.
Well, hey, Mike. I'm super thrilled to have you on here. Sounds like this is your first ever podcast in the Bitcoin and Lightning space, so I'm honored and excited to just dive into your story, what you have been up to, what you're up to with LTNG.Ventures, and talking all things Bitcoin and Lightning as well. So let's dive in. You originally started in the music industry, right?
Yeah, a good 10 plus years in the music business. Had a record label in high school, started promoting concerts. We did 35 concerts a month, actually, in Phoenix, Tucson, and Albuquerque. Everything from 50 people to right around 5,000 was probably some of the larger shows. And we also had a venue called the Nile Theater, kind of a famous punk rock venue. They did a lot of different stuff there. And then I went to manage a band called The Format. We got a major label deal. Actually, Sam from the Lightning store was in that band. Got a nice deal in our early 20s on Elektra Records, and I managed them for a while, tour managed them and a few other bands, and spent a good portion of time on the road, and then left that all and moved to New York.
Crazy. Now, if for those who want to learn even more and go deeper, Mike, about a month ago, I think, did a call-in episode with Cyan Bannister, a kind of a legendary investor, and some wild stories there, man.
Yeah, she's from Arizona and has kind of a punk rock past as well. And also
That's cool.
Also kind of an investing idol. I'm a fanboy, so.
Okay, so here's a question that just comes up immediately: is what is it about punk rock and like angel investing? Because it seems like it's at least I know of a couple other people who have done that you've kind of introduced me to. So, is there a connection there?
Um, okay, so when you are developing a band, right? When you're developing an artist, now whether you're booking a concert or you're putting out a record, all right, you're taking them at this point in time and you are establishing a relationship and you are growing that. Okay, so maybe the band's doing
Yeah.
50 people, all right, and then you keep that relationship and then they come back and maybe they do 300 and they do 800, okay, and they do 1,000 and you maintain that history with them to as far as you possibly can, right? So when you're working in venture capital, even as an angel investor or leading a syndicate, and we can talk about what a syndicate is later, you want to support and champion that company. It's not a one and done thing. So, if you're going to invest in a Bitcoin company, right? Like, let's say you invested in Swan, all right, or you led an allocation, and you then are now married, and you're pregnant. You are going to support and champion that company, that founder. They're going to send their updates of, here's what's working, here's what's trouble, here's what we're looking for. We need a front end developer and a bank in Southeast Asia. And does anyone know any influencers? We're going to have an affiliate program. We're going to roll it out. And then you just support them as much as you can, right? By trying to maintain some piece of that the next time they raise and continue as far as possible. So it draws some similarities to the music business in that regard. Because once you put out one record, you're not done with that band, right? I mean, they have merch and they have shows, and you got to try and get them on tour. And there's so many aspects of like growing them, right? So it is
Yeah.
kind of similar in that way.
That's cool. Okay, yeah, that's a good baseline, I think, for as we continue this conversation. Um, so then you moved to New York, and do you stay in music, or what are you doing there?
So before I moved to New York, I lived on a Mississippi plantation farm called the Shack Up Inn. Really cool hotel. It was a B&B. They called it a bed and beer, and they brought in authentic sharecroppers shacks where you could rent these authentic shacks from back in the day. And it was on this farm called Hobson Plantation where they invented the one row cotton picker. The one row cotton picker was actually invented on that property. And these
Hmm.
guys bought it, and they didn't start this thing as a hotel, but they just had a European show up there one day and say, "Hey, can I stay here?" Before it was actually a hotel. And then somehow people just started showing up there and staying there. And then they got listed in a Lonely Planet guide. And on now, next thing you know, all these Europeans are just kind of coming through and renting these shacks, and they fell backwards into having a hotel. So I lived there on the property at this hotel, this farm, and I was like the night guy, and you just hang out with the coolest people that would come there. And it's like the home of the blues, uh, American blues music. It's in
Yep.
Clarksdale, Mississippi, which is a famous place referred to as the Crossroads, which is where Robert Johnson sold his soul. You know this story. Do you know this story?
Keep it going. Yeah, keep it going.
Robert Johnson, the most famous blues musician of all time, sold his soul to the devil at midnight at this mythical crossroads place, right? So a lot of people go to Clarksdale, Mississippi. They have the Delta Blues Museum. It's a very small little town about an hour south of Memphis. And they would go for this blues stuff. So it was very popular. I met Robert Plant there at the hotel. Yeah, a lot of big names go through Mississippi, and I lived there because I wanted to play music myself, and I wrote 200 pages about living in the Delta and my experiences in Mississippi. And from then, okay, I was done with the music business at this point in time, and that's kind of a whole nother story about why that happened. But that was over. There was no going back there. So then moved to New York and slept on my friend's floor for 5 or 6 months in Brooklyn. Yeah, I drove a taxi. I got a couple of not the best jobs. I delivered Thai food on a bicycle for a day. Uh, they fired me. It was one day on that bike,
Just not
and
riding fast enough, or what?
it just I wasn't cut out. I wasn't cut out for that career at that time. But yeah, drove a taxi. I mean, that was a crazy experience. Got my real estate license, and then started eventually making some real money. And I was lucky enough to be the first employee at a healthcare tech company. I met this guy through real estate, and he said, I'm going to change your life. Come work for me. You'll be the first employee. And I did. And he sold that company for $450 million to Blue Cross Blue Shield. So then he did that again. So I was lucky enough to have two exits in healthcare, and that was finally a little bit of real money for me. And of course, I was a 2012 Bitcoiner, late 2012, started buying Bitcoin, and going down that rabbit hole too. And then just started investing in private companies, small amounts, and researching and how do you get started. I think that it's the best way to make real money, which is why the government doesn't want you to do it. Just like Bitcoin is the best way to preserve your purchasing power, and why the government doesn't want you to do it, right? Just like eating meat is probably the healthiest thing you can do, which is why they don't want you to do it. So if you just do the opposite of everything the government tells you, you'd probably be good.
Yep. Especially that grass-fed, organically raised beef, right? Don't eat that.
Yeah,
Bad for the
you want to
environment.
eat the fake soy one.
Okay, so that's an interesting segue. So you have an exit from a couple of companies where you started as like one of the first employees. So you saw a company go from 0 to 1, right? That kind of concept. And then was that kind of what got you interested in Bitcoin? What was it about Bitcoin in 2012? Because that's pretty early.
Well, a lot of people like myself were metals people, right? It was gold and silver,
Guilty.
and yeah, and that's an easy transition, right? Like if you're already stacking gold and silver, all right, and you're listening to all those podcasts and all of those people, the gold and silvers, the Mike Maloney's, all of those type of people. It's kind of an easy transition, right? Except for Peter Schiff, I guess. But it should be an easy transition to get Bitcoin if you were in metals. So I kind of stumbled on it. It was in a message board, and like everyone, this is a scam. This is ridiculous. And then right around that $3 level, the Max Kaiser was really started talking about it again on the show. Right around that $3 is circular. I was like, oh my God, it's $3, right? And pretty much right after that, then it's 7, and then it's 15, and it's, you're still, you missed it, right? $15 was too expensive to buy Bitcoin. I remember it's like, I'm not buying it at $15, I'll wait till it goes back to 3, and then maybe I'll buy it. And there was this place here, this New York Bitcoin Center, Nick Spano, and that was like nothing. That was like a guy with a card table, and he answered the phone personally. He went on, and he still speaks, and is pretty high profile guy. But he was just if you want to buy Bitcoin, I'll show you how. Just come down here, bring $1,000, and and do it. So there was a few things going on in New York. If you went to a Bitcoin meetup back then, it was like maybe 2 pictures of water and like 9 people in a room. And it's a lot different. And then you go through that ICO thing, right, where it's like free food, free alcohol, rooftop parties. But yeah, got interested in Bitcoin then, and just learning, right?
Yeah. Man, that's really cool. That's actually I've said it in a previous episode with a couple people, but I was a metals guy too. Just the idea of an actual bearer instrument that isn't owned by someone else, right? And
Hmm.
and then growing up as I did, like I still remember, I've said this before in other episodes, but like I had a rotary phone in my home at one point, and then I had like one of the first modems as well. So like I was in that transition from analog to digital, digital first. And so just it was an easy transition, I think, for me as well. So Cool to hear you were a metals guy at first.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of people. I think a lot of people who get it started with sound money principles, and you go down the whole Fed and everything else. And then once you finally get Bitcoin and learn enough about it, that's it. There's nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah. And so in 2012, I hear Nick Spano. Who else was kind of influential in your thinking at that time?
Well, there wasn't really too much, right? You had the Max Kaiser, the Kaiser report, and you had that golden era of the World Crypto Network. Back then, that was really great. Thomas Hunt back then. I mean, that was pretty much it. And what else did you have? You had like Ken Bozak and Adam Meister
The
and
Bitcoin Meister.
the Bitcoin Meister. You got to have him on, dude. He's a trip.
Strong hands.
Um, yes, really nice guy. You just had a few people, and that's where you're getting your news from. It wasn't really covered too much, so
Yeah.
you just learned as much as you can.
Was Vortex on World Crypto Network at that point?
Yeah, Vortex and Thomas Hunt and Tone and Jimmy and those early, Gabriel Devine and a
Yep.
couple other people, but
Yeah.
that was a golden era.
Yes. One thing I forgot in the intro, you work with Tone on the Unconfiscatable conference. Is that right?
Yeah, we should be having the third one coming on sale here soon. We're a little behind the eight ball, but it's going to be March of 2022. And yeah, this will be the third one. But yeah, we do it together. And I had a bar in Manhattan. We had the second Bitcoin ATM, and I met Tone back in the day there as well.
That's cool. That's really cool. Where's Unconfiscatable going to be next March?
Um, Vegas.
Oh, nice.
It'll always be in Vegas,
Okay.
I think. It'll be hopefully the last year, maybe at the D Hotel. I'm hoping that we can move it to their new hotel, the Circa. But yeah, we're getting looking forward to putting that on sale and getting started.
That's cool. All right. So we've kind of covered a little bit on the angel investing side, your kind of Bitcoin origins. Um, one thing that's interesting to me is Lightning. Like, I guess it's natural to go from metals to Bitcoin, and probably even more natural to go from Bitcoin to Lightning. But like, when did you get into Bitcoin and be like, oh yeah, this is a solution here?
Um, I mean, if you like, okay, you said you had a rotary phone and you had a modem. So you were a hobbyist, right? You like to play with things, right? I still remember some of our first computers when we actually would connect and it would just be a black screen, and able to talk, through like just a terminal with a connected modem. These are like fun things to do, right? So
Hmm.
when you start with Bitcoin, what do you do to get started, right? Maybe you get some and maybe you send it. Maybe you learn how to use a block explorer. Maybe you make a paper wallet. Maybe you read Mastering Bitcoin. So all of these little bites, right, is a lot, right? Where do you even start? I would challenge that most people have never made a paper wallet, and have no idea how that works, right? And then maybe you get an old ASIC machine, and maybe you do some hobby mining in your room, and hopefully your wife doesn't divorce you because it's loud and hot and absurd, right? And maybe you stay up all night playing with this little miner, and maybe you make $1 and hook it to a pool, and maybe you're on nice hash, and maybe you're doing all kinds of fun stuff, right? But it keeps up your technical chops, right?
Hmm.
So do you remember the fork period? You remember the forks?
Yes. Oh
With
yeah,
airdrops and
2017.
forks and sign the message and get the free money and this Bitcoin diamond and Bitcoin gold and Bitcoin whatever.
Oh man.
Well, now it's really unfortunate that a lot of people probably lost a lot of money playing around with that stuff, but boy, was that a lot of fun. to keep up your technical chops, right? And and the people are very accessible. Like Jimmy Song is really nice, and if you send him an email and say, hey, I'm trying to claim this whatever whatever, next thing you know, you got a Python script and you're claiming all these extra free Bitcoins, and then you're selling them as quickly as possible and putting it back into real Bitcoin, right? Because all these forks are just total wastes, right?
Right.
And that was a fun period, I think, for Bitcoin, because not only did it become a productive asset, temporarily, it was paying these crypto dividends, so to speak, of nonsense that you could at least sell. Um, but that really keeps you up to date, right? That keeps you it keeps you sharp,
Yeah.
right? So you download, maybe you run a full node on your laptop, and maybe you start playing around in the terminal. Maybe you start importing a private key. Um, Maybe you start learning basic commands, right? There's so much to keep busy with in Bitcoin. It could never get old, right? And then you throw Lightning Network, and I'm like an old man. You know what I mean? All this stuff going on, layer two, layer three, and side chains and liquid, and there's just so much going on. How do you even cover it all? How do you even stay on top of it? So um, I think people are going to be using Lightning and just not know it. I think wallets like Moon, I think that's how you say it, right?
Hmm.
Moon, basically taking the QR code and just se- separating it from on-chain and Lightning. Just show us the address. Just show us the QR code. We'll do the rest, right? That's where it has to go. It has to get to that point where, you're telling people to send me a Lightning address, and they don't really know. So then what is that? Do I have that? Is that different than Bitcoin? And it's this. It's going to get to a user experience where it's just so easy, you know. And by the way, like, to send the first, emails, I mean, it was like ridiculously complicated, right? It wasn't just a click and go. So I think that's where it's going.
Yeah. Yeah, those original protocols, if you're like building, if you're trying to like use the protocol without any sort of interface in between, right? It can make it more difficult if you don't have the technical chops. And I think that's what's impressed me the most over the past couple of years is how quickly Lightning UX UI has improved, and it's like at an accelerating level. It feels like right now.
Yeah.
So
It's I mean, I'm like, all of these companies that are coming out in Bitcoin, they're all working with Lightning, and they're all going to thrive. I mean, this is the area that I want to focus on, right? Companies like Azteco, I'm a huge fan. Not only are they like changing the world, because they've superimposed topping up your mobile phone, that experience to buying Bitcoin, right? All over the world, right? It's $20 in a store, and you're just topping up, right? So can you imagine if a partnership ever comes out with, Circle K or 7-Eleven or one of these national retailers, and for the limits of $1,000 max, you can walk in KYC free and just buy Bitcoin everywhere.
yeah,
So yeah, and you have the choice, right? You want it on chain, or do you want Lightning, right? You have the options for both, right? And when you remember $100 fees, right? Or you remember ridiculous fees and spamming the mempool, and the block size wars, and all of this period that happened with Bitcoin. I mean, the mempool's empty right now.
it's
I
insane.
mean, it's yeah. I mean, you can get a transaction in for what? Nothing. Um, and you can still download Bitcoin Core on your laptop, and it syncs and works, right? Yeah, I was doing a call with this guy the other day. He's like, "Well, what about Ethereum?" I'm like, "Have you ever tried to run an Ethereum node on your computer? Like, you won't be able to. I can promise you. It just won't work."
Yeah, and then you have kind of the clown chains like BSV where like you have to have 16, like external hard drives, and you still can't run a node and like verify what's going on out there. So
It's amazing that people even still participate with this nonsense, you know? how can somebody take those projects seriously? How can somebody, and these are, is it just their excuse to print money? Is that what it's all about? Are they just trying to, um, is it just a get rich quick scheme for them? Because, El Salvador, countries that are coming online, maybe Brazil is next. Um, they're not taking a shitcoin. Okay, they are not going to play around with some like garbage project. It will just be Bitcoin, and I just wish everyone would see that.
Yeah, I think there was a tweet that Elise Colleen put out the other day about how Bitcoin is strong enough to serve as like the remittance rails worldwide, and it's also nation grade, like store of value. And so, how can you look at anything else? But people do.
Yeah, yeah. There's so much going on in Bitcoin. Like it's impossible to even keep up. Like you know, every time a QR code is generated on Lightning, okay, even if there's no transaction, that QR code is stored somewhere, right? That QR code is saved, right? So, I'm like listening to this discussion about they're talking about like that's a potential attack vector, right? Because you're creating these invoices nonstop, and you're bloating this chain of these QR codes I mean, that's data. It has to be kept, right?
Yeah.
Um, these are crazy ideas. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, in comparison to just trying to get started at a really high level of the problems that they're solving on their mailing lists, it's unreal.
Yeah. Well, I like to think of it as freedom technology, right? The whole point of this podcast is that Bitcoin and Lightning are this gravitational force, and as like bodies of mass grow, so does their gravitational force, right? And eventually, you get to like such a small mass in such a tight space that you get a black hole, and it's this vortex that
Hmm.
just sucks everything in. And I think we're getting to a tipping point where everything is going to start orbiting around the gravitational force that is Bitcoin on Lightning. And El Salvador is just the first one, right? It's like the Mercury, the small one, right, in front of the sun that's just growing. But
You know, Bitcoin is unique though, this whole space, because like you're a metals guy, or you were a metals guy, right? As soon as you get into sound money principles and you start going down that rabbit hole, and by the way, why isn't silver $500 an ounce? I have no idea. All right.
for sure,
But, you know, as soon as you're like, you know what, I'm going to start stacking silver and gold. There isn't like, oh, hey, now there's all this other shit. You don't get sidetracked like, you know what, I'm going to buy gold. And then you're like, you know what, I'm going to buy aluminum. You know what I mean? And
copper.
and when you get into, yeah, and you get into Bitcoin, and the first thing is like, I'm going to buy some Bitcoin, and then it's like, no, I'm going to find the next Bitcoin. I'm going to find a better Bitcoin. I'm going to find a green Bitcoin. And then it's like scam paradise in front of you of all of these distractions. Oh, well, this is some kind of chain, and they're doing something with, like so it's like it's hard, because even if you get somebody, even if you orange pill them to get them into Bitcoin, immediately they're thinking it's too expensive. And maybe I should buy this. My cousin told me to buy Digibyte or some nonsense other thing, or whatever it is. And you don't really have that in a lot of other stuff. Like if you're going to start investing in stocks, um, you know, you could lose all your money, of course, right? But
Sure.
it's a different kind of game than Bitcoin.
Yeah. Could we touch on that then, that same concept in the investing space, like angel investing? Because I think what people are trying to do is find the next Bitcoin, right? Which isn't going to happen because Bitcoin is a 0 to 1 like technology. But they're trying to say, oh, if I buy this under like point zero zero, if I buy it for 0.0006 and it goes to $1, like I don't have to work anymore, or whatever. Um, so like as an
And I hope it
investor,
does. And I hope it does. I hope it does go to $1, by the way.
yeah,
And I hope you take those profits and put them right into Bitcoin.
there we go.
Sorry to interrupt you.
That's right. It's all about increasing your Bitcoin stack in the end, right?
Yeah.
But like when you think about it from the angel investing lens, um, what do you look for? Let's even say let's start with Lightning Ventures and kind of what you've invested in. What are things that like in your mind you're like, okay, I'm looking for this, and this as I'm doing an investment.
So personally, as far as angel investing goes, I've invested in over 1,300 companies, right? Now
Wow.
that's insane, right? Like I'm a special case and I have a lot of interesting data on how that works, right? But you're dealing with a power law, okay? You're dealing with a power law, you're dealing with micro bets, okay, and a hyper diversified thesis, right?
Yep.
So um, you have to have a lot, right? Because you're going to get those outsized returns. So, as far as Bitcoin companies that I love and have invested in, Fold, Azteco, Abra, BlockFi, you can call me a scammer, but I'm sorry, the company's a monster. What else? Galoy,
They're
you
the
know,
they were the Bitcoin Beach Wallet uh,
yeah,
makers, right?
yeah. Uh, Amber, which was our first deal for the syndicate recently, Swan, um, Level, Rise. I mean, there's so many innovations with banking and really just, man, this company, Better Future Technologies, um, they it's real estate. It's real estate lending with Bitcoin. And this is going to save so many people, especially people like me. If you want to buy your $200,000 condo or house, locking up your Bitcoin, getting a traditional 30-year payment at 3.5% interest with no credit check, no nothing, just that is so powerful. It's like goosebumps just thinking about it. And I think just being in those companies and investing in them, even just small amounts, like these are huge ideas. I mean, Fold. I was in Fold seed round.
Hmm.
The minute you play with Fold, you're hooked, right? I mean, that's it.
I'm there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
actually I wrote a tweet the other day. I think it was actually yesterday where I was like, the game is so fun with Fold. Like I go to the grocery, my wife sends me with the list. Maybe I take a couple kids and I'm teaching them. So I'm like, okay, I get there to the terminal, I tap my Fold card, it asks for cash back. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get as much cash back until this purchase is over 250 and I've got 7 spins and I could get like the biggest reward, right? And it's like, and then I
yeah.
just take that cash back and I cycle it back into the account. I still have that money that I took out. I just cycle it back, but I got more sats. It's incredible.
It's and it's addicting too because you're seeing the price increase. You have the same amount of sats. Let's just say that you were inactive, right? You have basically the same amount of sats, and you're seeing the dollar price increase. My father, I sent him an Azteco voucher for his birthday the other day. I sent him $50 in Bitcoin, right? And then talked him through this over the phone, downloading the wallet and like got him there, right? And with every price increase, it's finally you get the, hey, that Bitcoin you sent me, it's worth, 10%, 15% more. Hey, how does this work? Am I getting more Bitcoin? No, the price is going. So this is the same amount. And once you watch the orange pilling happen, and then all of a sudden it's, well, how do I get more of it?
Yeah.
Well, let me send you another link. And you can dollar cost average, maybe through Swan or whatever. Just start sticking some dollars in there.
Go to the Lightning
So
store and check out the ATM there, right?
yeah, yeah,
That's
um,
that's cool. The number go up technology concept is like the perfect meme because
totally.
you got people like trying to park money places because they know that the dollar is not a store of value. They just inherently know. That's why like the stock market is such this game that people are like, oh, I got to trade in my IRA and all that, and it's just not a safe place to store value.
Yeah. So I want to, I know that we've, if anyone is even still listening, because we're that boring, but what I really want to get across about investing
Yeah.
and getting people started is so when you invest in Bitcoin companies, the way we are structuring our fund and the way that it is this is decoupled from price movement. Okay. Whether the price of Bitcoin goes up or down, okay, that has nothing to do with the companies that we're investing in, right? Fold is going to dominate regardless of what happens with the price. Okay, things like Zebedee, things in gaming.
Mm.
All right, everything that's being built, okay, on Lightning. All right, debit cards. Okay, worldwide. This has nothing to do with the price of Bitcoin, right? So it complements your HODL. It complements you already being a Bitcoiner because you're investing in that ecosystem as it develops, right? And one thing that I love about this that it's a feature, not a bug, okay, is that when you make an angel investment, you are essentially done. Okay, there is no decision further. All right. And when you get trapped up in equities and technical analysis, and am I above the 50, the moving and the golden cross, and what am I, and fundamentals, okay, do I buy more? Do I sell more? Well, the stock's up today and blah, blah, blah. And, stop losses. That doesn't happen when you invest in private companies. You write your check and that is it. Then you are just supporting and cheerleading that company. There is no, do I sell it today? Well, it's up. Well, it's down. You follow the company, you get updates on how that investment is doing, whether there's markups or markdowns. Sometimes they go to zero, sometimes they dissolve. Okay. But you sleep a lot easier investing in private companies than I personally do in public stuff because it takes the decisions out of it.
Okay, so here's a great question then, because I want to go back to what you said about Fold is going to dominate. Totally agree. Like one of the most powerful podcasts I think of this last year was Will Reeves on Preston Pish talking about the vision of Fold and like what they're doing. And I don't know if you caught that one, but it was like this guy, yeah, Fold is a rocket ship. But like, why does it not matter about the price when you invest in Fold? I think I know what you're saying, but I want to make sure listeners understand what that means.
When you're investing in a Bitcoin company, their business is not based on the price. Okay. Fold has gamified a debit card and allows you to earn Bitcoin, right? They are
Yeah.
they are orange pilling by default, right?
Yes.
So whether the price goes up or down, all right, Fold is going to do great, right? So unless it's direct exposure, um, it doesn't matter. None of these things are dependent on the price, right? So what I would not invest in is some guy with a crypto fund who's investing in Bitcoin and trading and tokens. These things I would not do. But if you have an opportunity to invest in Unchained Capital or Umbrel or name a cool company that's out there and doing something. I think that it would behoove everyone to start taking small bites of these companies. And I would love to get you excited with how those returns can go because they can be rather impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's say someone was still listening to us and they're like, okay, how do I get involved in Lightning Ventures? Get on it.
All right. So here is why angel investing is for everyone, right? You have something like Coinbase's Series A, right, in 2013. Now, had you invested in this round and held that stock until their IPO recently of this year, you would be sitting on a 4,000x return of your money, okay? 4,000 times. It's one of the few things that I've found that could actually outperform Bitcoin over the same time period, right? You're never going to get these returns anywhere else, okay? So $1,000 investment in Coinbase returns roughly 4 million, right? If you hold it till the IPO. All right. And yeah,
Wow.
the stock has fell from there a little bit, right? But still, that's an incredible return. Okay. So how do you get access to these deals? Okay. Whether it's gas stations in outer space or vegan tennis shoes or the ninth dog walking app that comes to market, right? There's all these opportunities out there, but where do you get started, right? The SEC limits that to accredited investors,
Yeah.
which is a total scam, and it is completely ridiculous that you can walk into a casino and lose all your money, all right? And that is their business model. Their business model is based on you losing, right?
Yeah.
And there's no gatekeepers there. But to invest in technology companies, which is probably the best way to gain wealth, you're not allowed to do that, okay? Because they deem you as unsophisticated. And these laws are changing. They've changed with crowdfunding, platforms like Republic, Start Engine, WeFunder, right? Now you can raise more money, and you don't have to have a certain accreditation to invest in those, right? What you should not do is sign up for all these websites and just start investing willy-nilly, right? Just don't start investing in a kombucha company in Ohio, all right? But you should start evaluating deals. You should start looking for these opportunities and find the good ones, okay? So we have a syndicate called LTNG.Ventures, all right? There are a few syndicates. We're focused on Bitcoin companies, right? So we are not going to bring out that ninth dog walking app, okay? We're just going to work with companies in this space. So you can go on AngelList. You can, hopefully there'll be the link somewhere in maybe below, and you
Yes.
can join. There's another great one called Bitcoiner Ventures, all right, ran by Corey Klippstein. He has a syndicate, right? Get in those vehicles and get in the deal flow. And the next time something cool happens, maybe Unchained is raising around, maybe you get a deal for Thunder Games, or maybe you get something, maybe Fold's next round is coming up. And then you can participate for a low minimum of $1,000, right? And I advocate in investing small amounts, right? Just like if you were learning how to play blackjack, you wouldn't play at the $500 a hand table. You would play at the dollar table with your buddies until you hone what you're doing, right? And a lot of people who wash out and fail in angel investing, they say they make two really large investments for $25,000 or $50,000 or $100,000, and then both of those companies go to zero. That is not the way that you should do it. Okay, the amounts can always go up in the future, right? And with each one of these deals, you learn. All right, you learn a lot because you have the original deal that you get, and you start watching the signaling and who else is investing and why, and you invest $1,000, and then you get an update from the founder, maybe every month, maybe every quarter. What's working? What isn't working? What are they looking for? How are they doing? And then maybe you get another update, and maybe then you get an apology letter from the founder saying, hey, COVID in India negatively crushed our business. We're dissolving. Everyone's getting back 30% of their invested amount. I'm really sorry. I hope you back my next startup. And that's the end of that road. But what do you get to do? You get to do a post-mortem on this whole thing. You get to go back. And they're the hottest company in YC, and everyone's in the deal, and this is going to be the greatest thing ever, and blah, blah, blah. And then you get to read it until whatever happens, right? And that goes the other way too. Because, oh my God, we're ahead of our projections, and we hit every milestone known to man, and we raised it a $10 million valuation, and now the company's worth 200, right? And you're sitting on a 20x markup for that company and where they're at. So you get so much experience by getting involved, okay? And once you start learning through that process, which I think is worth more than any education that you're going to get anywhere else, then you can really get more serious. So if you're looking for Bitcoin deals specifically, our syndicate is going to be very active in this space. We also have a fund, okay, that is no fees and no carry, okay? We are making $0 off of our fund, and it is only investing in Bitcoin companies, all right? So it's a $25,000 minimum. It's very small compared to a lot of funds, and it's essentially direct cap table exposure for people with no fees, right?
Wow.
So there's a lot of interesting opportunities out there for people to get started, right? You can do the unaccredited stuff on some of the platforms. You can keep an eye out for Bitcoin deals on there, and then you can just get started in learning. Read the Calcanis Angel book, read Venture Deals by Brad Feld, and start looking at if you were like, I'm not an NFT guy, I don't have any Ethereum. I never owned an NFT. I liken that to the NASDAQ bubble. Okay. A pets.com, a domain name with no sales, when that whole thing goes crashing down, that is NFTs. That is a lot of this stuff, right? That is not the companies that we're investing in. These companies have real revenue. Foundation Devices, they just came out with the Passport. It's a new hardware wallet.
Yep.
All of these companies have sales. These are real companies. Everyone's saying, oh, it's it's going to be a NASDAQ bubble or whatever. I don't think that that's going to happen. I think but if you were lucky enough to invest a little bit in OpenSea's seed round, I mean, that company's worth over $1 billion right now. So where are you going to get 1,000x or more of your money? Airbnb, for example, their seed round, a $25,000 investment in Airbnb's seed round returned over $2 billion, with a B, $2 billion. Now that takes time. That took over 10 years for that company to go public. So you're dealing on a long time horizon in a very illiquid nature. Okay. So yeah, there's secondary markets. There's ways to trim that or ring the register. There are ways to kind of exit it when you're sitting on those big winners, but you're completely illiquid. I remember when Bitcoin was illiquid. Remember when it was hard to sell Bitcoin? And that's it. So I think that investing in private companies in general is one of the coolest things that you can do. And not only that, but I probably see 300 decks a week for companies doing everything in the world that you can imagine.
Wow.
And you become this living, breathing API for like really cool shit. All right, whether it's a legal startup, whether it's micro mobility and scooters, whether it's ways to get paid in Bitcoin and your employer doesn't even know the difference. You get something like a bit wage, maybe. There's all of these cool things happening in the world. And by investing in private companies, you at least know. And the next time you're at Whole Foods in the shampoo aisle, you might see one of those companies that you invested in, And when you build up thousands of them, it's unavoidable. The taxi drives by, and not only is the ad that's on the taxi some startup that you've invested in, but the taxi itself is a company called Firefly, and you invested in them, So it just starts showing up in every part of your life, and you add value when you can. You champion them. You do the best that you can for those founders and those companies, and it's just, to me, it's the best investment out there, second to Bitcoin, of course.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say to sell your Bitcoin and go start angel investing, but I would certainly think it's way better than public markets. It's way better than real estate, and you got 8 doors somewhere in Texas and you're collecting rent from everybody. Like it doesn't excite me,
Yeah. In that sense, the people who are dealing with and trying to buy shit coins, they should buy Bitcoin, and then anything they were thinking of putting into shit coins, if they're able to, which it sounds like, even if you're unaccredited, there are now more avenues for this. Like, start looking into angel investing into Bitcoin and Lightning companies.
Yeah.
Okay. So your syndicate and your fund, those both require accreditation, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But then you're saying there's some unaccredited platforms more in the crowdfunding model.
All the crowdfunding is open to everyone, right? It's hard to find a lot of Bitcoin opportunities on there. It's easy to find shitcoin opportunities, okay? Something like a token metrics or one of these type of nonsense things. You're going to see a lot of that. And the Bitcoin companies are less, right? But that's coming. And that doesn't mean that really awesome healthcare startup, right, that is automating the credentialing process for doctors. I happen to know a little bit about that because I was in healthcare, right? That's a strong deal, if you come across that, or if you're a specialty, if you were in, okay, let's take a good one. Let's take a good one, and it's a Bitcoin crossover, okay? There's a really sick company called Alto IRA. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of them.
No.
Alto IRA allows you to take your IRA or your traditional 401k, and they make it into a checkbook IRA for you, which allows you to buy Bitcoin, hold your own keys, keep custody of it, but you're holding that in a tax sheltered traditional IRA. Okay. So
Wow.
Alto IRA, the first time I saw them, they were on Republic. And I was like, I had heard of the company, and it's like, wow, this is really awesome. Right. So you could participate in that. And not only that, but when you go deeper into Alto IRA, you find out that, oh shit, if I've got $50,000 in my traditional 401k, Alto IRA then makes it so you can make investments into angel investing through that as well, right? So it opens it up. So if you see something like that on one of these websites where it's in Bitcoin, it's in the Bitcoin world, but it's not necessarily directly, mining or, it's not like a fold. That's a really awesome opportunity, So there's a lot of that stuff that's out there. You
Yeah.
just got to you just got to turn on the deal flow. Just get somewhere, and be wary of everything, right? You don't want to invest in the flying cars, right? I mean, flying cars not my favorite. Drug companies, right? I don't care what phase it's in. Pre-sales biotechs that are like making your dog live longer, or whatever it is. That stuff is really cool, but that's how you lose. That's how you lose your money. So you just got to be careful of stuff like that.
Yeah. Which is probably a good time to remember that nothing in this podcast or that Mike has said is financial advice. Consult your proper professionals. But
Right. There's no financial advice here. But if you want to keep all of your life savings in Bitcoin and highly illiquid private companies, that's what I'm doing. So we'll see. We'll see how it
yeah,
turns out.
yeah. Well, kind of on that same thing you were talking about, Alto IRA, I think we're seeing this proliferation because there's also like Choice, for instance, by KT, that's doing a similar thing, right? Um, and so whereas Fold is attacking the credit and debit card rewards market,
Hmm.
the ultimate mission is like we're going to force every card company to have to give Bitcoin rewards back because it's just going to be this thing that grows and people are going to be like, wait, I want Bitcoin back for my rewards. Who cares about miles and all that? And now, attacking the IRA market as well, which is just this incredible greenfield opportunity for Bitcoin.
So the common sense of it is if you got Robinhood in 2013 sent to you, and it was no fee stock trading for millennials, maybe a little gamified aspect of it, the confetti and whatever it is, as a way to kind of get younger people investing. Chances are that sounds like a good idea, right? And chances are you would be in that deal, and you would have thousands of X return on that investment. So if you have enough like of the, I don't want to say common sense, right? But if you got a BlockFi, okay, we're going to pay interest, right? And BlockFi's deck is like 65 pages, okay, of how their business works. And by the way, they're not a scam. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people think that they are. But, if you got the BlockFi deal and you were in Bitcoin, you would probably invest a small amount in that, right? I know I would, right? And then it's all of a sudden, oh, we're going to release a credit card and we're going to give cash back in sats and we're going to do all these fun things that we've been waiting for as Bitcoiners. We've been waiting for cash back in sats for how long? Since you got into Bitcoin,
Yep.
we've been waiting for stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this is a really cool preloaded debit card where I can load Bitcoin and hold Bitcoin, and every time I swipe that card, it's going to convert on the fly. All right. Maybe it charges me 2%. Maybe there's a little bit of a fee, right? But now I'm getting the price appreciation. I'm holding Bitcoin, right? And it's doing that conversion. So the price of Bitcoin is up today, 10%. Um, my purchasing power in dollars for every swipe, that's a free coffee if I'm spending that card. That's a free lunch, when you're spending that card. So these type of like really cool ideas, if you're a Bitcoiner, you're going to be in, right? I mean, legacy wealth planning, something like Unchained Capital, right? You have a lot of older people who want Bitcoin, right? But how do you secure it, and how do you become the platform that is going to be able to handle that? Because these are big boy pants that they're putting on for some of this stuff, right? If you just are in the fold, if you're in one of our if you're in our syndicate, or in the fold, so to speak, right? If you're in one of these syndicates and you're getting those deals, there's a really good chance that you're going to see something that you like, and for that small little investment, the upside is just tremendous, right? But again, don't just go on Start Engine and invest in every freaking idea and thing that's out there, right? That is a surefire not good way, because when we send you something from our syndicate, it's filtered so many times by the time that it gets to you that you know what you're getting is quality, right? Because you have co-investors, you have other signals, right? They have revenue. Like, it doesn't help us to roll out garbage, right? Because if we
Right.
roll out garbage and everyone invests and we raise a couple $100,000 for this company, right? And that company fails, okay? That is a public track record for us, right? We brought that out in an industry where 80% of them are supposed to fail, okay? Don't forget that. It doesn't help to bring out junk, right?
Yeah.
But when you're on one of these crowdfunding platforms, you're clicking around. Their business is not to roll out crap, but they might have a lower quality, like something like a WeFunder. The easiest platform to get onto would be something like a WeFunder, right? So you're probably not going to get the highest stuff. Like, if you get a deal from us, you're only going to get one. Like, we're only going to run one deal at that time. We're not going to say, here's 40 opportunities for you, Or you come into the fund with our micro thesis bet, and you're going to have a broad exposure to a lot of companies that are just in Bitcoin, right? For that $125,000 investment.
Yeah. So again, you guys are the filter. Like, in a lot of ways, you're scanning the market and really doing some due diligence on this idea, and then you say, okay, here's this, like, what we think is gold. Come invest, and here's
Yeah.
why.
And I'm in a couple hundred syndicates, right? So when they roll out a deal, it's been through the filters, right? So I know we've been talking a while, but this is just this last thing here, okay? So
Sure.
let's say that you pick a company, right? You're wearing a shirt for Thunder Games, all right? Let's take Thunder Games. Let's say that Thunder Games is raising $2 million, okay? And let's say that a top venture capital firm is leading that round with half of that, okay? So let's say that they're in for $1 million. And then there's two other smaller VC firms that are in for 250,000 and 500,000, right? So that's 1.7 of the two. And then you're in our syndicate, and our allocation is, let's do one more. So there's those two other VC firms, and then you have a couple of notable people, right? Maybe, I don't know, Charlie Lee, maybe the Novogratz, maybe Max Kaiser, right? They're listed as investors. Maybe they're coming in for $50,000 to $100,000 each. And then there's this little $150,000 or $100,000 allocation for that syndicate, okay? You're investing on the same terms as everyone else, okay? You're getting the same price, the same share class, the same everything, okay? So that last little crumb of $100,000 or $200,000 in that round is being offered to you. And you have the opportunity to get in on the same terms as everyone else with $1,000 minimum. Okay, you would have
Wow.
to fight me. You would have to fight me to keep me out of deals like that. Okay,
Yeah.
and it's not like, okay, well, what kind of due diligence am I going to do? Right? The main VCs, they've just spent 3 months. They're in the data room. They've given the founder, a colonoscopy. All right. They've gotten everything that they needed, okay, in those 3 months before they write those big checks. What am I going to find out looking at this guy's LinkedIn? Okay. Nothing. All right. It doesn't matter. So when you pay attention to the signals, you look who's in, you read the growth, you read the memo, you do as much work as you can. All right. And then you can invest a small amount. That is so powerful, man. So powerful.
That is very powerful.
When a company is raising $20 million and they're doing that big Series A and it's all accounted for except this little crumb that you're being offered, man, you want to be the last $1,000 into every oversubscribed deal and then just let time catch up with your portfolio and it'll be incredibly impressive.
It's that low time preference thing that Bitcoiners are really into, just in the space investing in Bitcoin companies.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by low time preference?
Low time preference. So like high time preference versus low time preference. High time preference, I want to, I want it and I want it now. Low time preference, like I'm willing to invest a little for my future and just let it ride so that 10 years down the road, 20, I'm in good shape.
Actually, what you said was really interesting because, that's kind of the Bitcoin versus the altcoin mentality. Because a Bitcoin mentality is to buy and hold and to HODL and to not mess with it, right? When you're a trader, okay, in altcoins and all these other things, you want to get rich quick, right? Oh my God, it's 6 cents, and when it goes, So that with investing, it's kind of the same thing. You have to have that Bitcoin mentality to put $1,000, okay, into a company at an early stage like a BlockFi, and then wait, right? Because it is going to take time.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get the 100x in a couple of months.
Yeah.
But I want to get you started, all right? We're going to red pill you and get you in the syndicate. We're going to get your first investment made, all right? If I see anything on one of these crowdfunding sites that looks interesting, I'm going to send it to you. We are going to get you in once, and then you are going to be a full-blown junkie.
Well, hey, you've got my cell phone number now, so please text as soon as you see that first deal, man. Last question, because we have been talking a lot. Really appreciate this conversation. I think there've been so many nuggets. What are you most excited about over the next 2 to 5 years when it comes to Bitcoin and Lightning?
I'm excited about micropayments, and I'm excited about like on-demand stuff. I don't know if this is most excited, but this is what I'm thinking. Sam, and he likes to talk about this a lot. He's also running the syndicate. He does the Lightning Store, the ATM, all that fun stuff. From a music business background, to be able to monetize your content based on a per second consumption. Okay. So if I'm listening to half of a song, that's what it should cost, right? It's not necessarily the $10 a month subscription price for the platform, and however that gets filtered down. And by the way, when you dig into the music business, of everyone who cuts your money out before it gets to you, okay, being able to go direct to the listeners, direct for content creators, okay, there's no reason that you have to pay for Netflix monthly when every time you want to watch something, it could be a QR. It could be a QR code with a Lightning thing. Maybe it's 50 cents to watch that movie. Maybe it's, 30 cents or however it works. So the micropayments, I'm super excited about El Salvador actually forcing Fortune 500 companies to accept Bitcoin. Can you imagine right now the C-suite at McDonald's? Can you imagine the C-suite at McDonald's being like, wait a minute, no interchange charges, settles immediately, no chargeback risks? We just saved 3% on our top line by cutting out Visa and MasterCard. Maybe we should look further into rolling Bitcoin out throughout the world, right? They were forced to do it in El Salvador. Now they're forced to look at how powerful it is, right? So those coming online. I'm so excited about this Better Futures technology and people buying real estate and traditional mortgages with Bitcoin being locked up. I hope that Amber does that stuff as well, especially with traditional car loans. Okay, all of those type of things. So pumped on that. I'm pumped on everything happening with with just your daily consumer finances. If you're going to buy something on Amazon, it's still kind of inconvenient, but you do it, right? You buy the fold card and then you log it in. It's all going to get cheaper. It's all going to get faster. It's all going to get better. And just those daily services, paying your employees, accepting it for your business. I mean, one of these days, Square is going to roll out a Bitcoin update. I mean, that's like maybe 20 million businesses. Okay, that's the farmer's market lady. That's my cafe downstairs. We use Square. I mean, with a click of a button, all of a sudden, and an opt-in by the business, do you want to accept Bitcoin? Like, that has to happen, So
Yeah.
there's so much to be excited about. Gaming.
That's
Gaming. I mean,
yeah.
my gosh, it's going to be crazy how okay, I'm in a bunch of companies that are doing competitive, right? I'm really good at this video game. I go on, I have a rating. We're going to play this game for $10. Okay, whoever wins gets $10. None of them are using Bitcoin right now. None of them, right? And there's no reason that I should. Okay, I won $200 playing whatever popular video games people play competitively. I just won $200. Now I got to wait 3 days for this ACH to process for my $200. That's a no-brainer, man.
Yeah. I was watching Andre at Zebedee talk about at the Human Rights Foundation's Oslo Freedom Forum in Miami just a couple days ago, and he was talking about taking money from the digital realm by playing a game and bringing it into the physical on my phone wallet. Boom! It just blew my mind. So it's really exciting to see that digital and physical bridge, I guess you would call it. That's instant.
Yeah.
So, well, Mike, man. Oh, I was gonna say I want to respect your time here. It's been an awesome conversation. Can you plug away where people can find you, the syndicate, anything else you want to plug?
Sure. So the syndicate's on AngelList. Hopefully, we can put the URL or link in there.
I will.
It's a horrible website, but it's LTNG.Ventures. LTNG.Ventures. I'm Mike Jarmuz on Twitter. I wish I had a good name, but the Muzzman was taken. I'm not too active on there. The fund, there should be the fund info on there as well. We're just about 60% through it. It's a very small fund. It's no fees. And then Bitcoiner Ventures, I'll try to link to that. And yeah, I would just get started somewhere and look at the opportunities in investing in Bitcoin companies. And also Unconfiscatable.com is going to go on sale hopefully soon here for early March.
Cool. People can pay in Bitcoin on Lightning?
Of course. Yes, of course.
Love it, man. Well, thanks again, Mike, for your time, man. I think there's just been so much valuable. You could probably charge a paid course for it, but you've given it away for free. So appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure, John. And we're going to get you started with making your first investment, and we're going to get you in there. Next,
I love it.
Deal.
Awesome. Hey, and viewers and listeners, thanks again. If you liked the episode, please hit subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll see you next time. Oh, man, what an episode today with Muzz. Just an incredible mind. Just so you know, he dropped out of school in the 11th grade and went off and started in the music industry. I think it's 17, maybe 18. And what he talks about with angel investing and Bitcoin being the best education that you could get because it'll teach you things. It's better than anything you could get out of school. And so that was just a really cool story from him and just that music industry parallel with with angel investing with Bitcoin. The idea of, hey, you make your bet and then you play the long-term game. And so that low time preference activity is actually really great throughout it all, and just stewarding those investments of time, energy, and resources in a person or a company or Bitcoin, the asset and network. And so that was a huge takeaway. I'm also really interested in just the fact that he's done so many interesting things. And so you can tell he sees opportunities that he wants and takes them. So that was really cool. But I think just the idea of helping people get invested in the Bitcoin ecosystem of companies that we've dreamed about for years as Bitcoiners, and with Lightning opening up, everything that you can do with Bitcoin, the network, with the asset, Bitcoin, the asset, writing the Lightning network, the rails of the Lightning network, is the opportunities are absolutely immense and really outsized ROI. But of course, his idea of, hey, Bitcoin, that is like number one. And then number two, if you're able to, just being able to, again, advance the Bitcoin and Lightning stack worldwide. And it's cool to be able to be in a position where we can do that. So I hope you really enjoyed the episode. If you did, right now we're on YouTube, planning to launch soon on Apple, Google, Spotify, and the Value for Value apps. And so keep an eye out for that. But at least a like and even a comment on the YouTube or retweet will really help. Really looking to get voices out there. I can't believe this was Mike's first ever podcast. With everything he's invested in, gosh, you can go to the LTNG.Ventures AngelList page and you can see, and then of course all the others he listed in here too. So yeah, it was such a fun episode. Again, like, subscribe, comment. Would love to see those come in, and even feedback too. Would love to hear that. Got some from my wife actually on our walk just now out in the neighborhood of potentially smaller episodes for those who are new to the space. So, and looking to be able to keep up with some of the guests that I have on here, because there's some real awesome people and perspectives on here as well. So in any case, hey, keep changing the tide out there. We'll see you next time.